Gross anatomy of the kidney. Here you have the outer layer, this dark layer here, which is called the capsule.
If you don't wait, I'm gonna whip him.
This is the capsule out here. Right, you got the capsule. Just inside the capsule is a region called the renal cortex. So if I asked the name of the region, you would tell me this is the cortex. And then just deep to that, we have the medulla, which is always the center. It doesn't matter if we're looking at a lymph node, a spleen, or the kidney. Then we have structures inside the kidney. These are the pyramids. Inside the pyramids are the functional unit of the kidney. This is a nephron, the parenchyma. And in between the pyramids, we have the renal columns here, here, here. And notice the blood vessel coming up through the column. Now, when you look at the renal artery, it splits to become the segmental artery, and then it splits again to become the interlobar. So this is the interlobar. Between each of the pyramids, inside each of the columns, is the interlobar. The interlobar is going to arch over the pyramid to become the arcuate. This is the arcuate coming over here, here, over here. That's going to give rise to the interlobular. So a point of confusion or something to note about, that this is the interlobar, this is the interlobular. Interlobar, interlobular. And the interlobular leads to the afferent arteriole, which supplies the glomerulus. Again, capsule, cortex, medulla, pyramids, columns, minor calyx or little cup, major calyx, larger cups, renal pelvis. The hilus is where the pelvis, renal artery, renal vein enter and exit the kidney. Over here, you have a little bit larger magnification of this. So you can see these little glomerulus are enlarged over here. You can also see the arcuate artery and vein right here. And the arcuate gives rise to the interlobular, which gives rise to the afferent, which gives rise to the glomerulus. So this vascular tuft is the same as this vascular tuft here. The outer surface layer of this vascular tuft is called the visceral layer. The afferent arteriole is larger in diameter than the efferent arteriole, and the distal convoluted tubule rises between the afferent and the efferent. This cluster of cells that are thick are called the macula densa, and these cells sitting inside the afferent arteriole are called the juxtaglomerulus cells. Next to the glomerulus, this is where renin is produced. Now, once the blood travels through the afferent arteriole, the pressure inside the glomerulus forces filtrate through into the capsule. So this is all Bowman's capsule. It's lined with these epithelium that are called the parietal layer. The visceral layer is on the capillary. Think of this as an organ. The capillary has the visceral layer, and inside the capsule is the parietal layer. Bowman's capsule and the filtrate in it is forced to enter into the proximal convoluted tubule, the first segment of the collecting tubules. So on this model here, I want to take a look at the blood vessels, the glomerulus, and the collecting tubules, as well as the rest of the vasculature. So let's look at the blood vessels first. This here is the arcuate artery. It's giving rise to the interlobular, which gives rise to the afferent arteriole. So all these are afferent arterioles, and notice that the smaller diameter vessel leaving the capsule is the efferent arteriole. In this example, the efferent arteriole is becoming the peritubular capillaries surrounding the tubules, and in this example you have the vasa recta. They're traveling straight down deep into the medulla, where the osmolarity is higher, and that acts as an opportunity to pull water into the vasa recta, as well as force water to leave the loop of Henle. Now, getting back to the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, the first segment of the collecting tubules is called the proximal convoluted tubule. So this tubule right here, which is the same as this tubule right here, is the first segment, and it's called the proximal convoluted tubule in orange, and it's where most of the water and solutes are recovered. That's called reabsorption. Filtration takes place here, and reabsorption takes place here. where the nutrients exit the tubule, go into the interstitial space, and are recovered by the capillaries. Then we have the descending limb, and notice that this thin segment here, below the descending limb, this is where water would be most permeable to go into the interstitial space. The hairpin turn is called the loop of Henle, and it becomes the thick ascending limb, which leads to the distal convoluted tubule. So just as a summary of some of the physiology of the tubules, proximal convoluted tubule recovers everything through reabsorption. The thin limb recovers water predominantly. The thick ascending limb recovers sodium, potassium, and chlorine, with potassium leaking back into the filtrate, and the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct are variable. That means PTH, aldosterone, and ADH have their opportunity to alter what the filtrate's going to be looking like. Then we have the collecting ducts, which lead to the papillary ducts here, and these papillary ducts drain into, over here, the minor calyx, the major calyx, the renal pelvis. Finally, from the renal pelvis, urine travels down the ureter, and it enters into the bladder posteriorly. That's what these areas represent here and over here. These are part of the male reproductive system. These are the vas deferens, the seminal vesicles, and the prostate gland. But the ureters enter into these areas right here and open to the inside as the uretal openings. These are the uretal openings here and here. And the relationship between the uretal openings and the internal sphincter is called the trigone. And urine travels, once the sphincter has relaxed, through the prostatic urethra, through the external sphincter, which is not shown here. You'll see that when we look at the male and female reproductive models that'll have that sphincter on it, and then ultimately to the urethra, where urine is exited or discarded from the body. Three principal functions: filtration, absorption.
And secretion.
Correct. Thank you very much.
I learned that today.
All right. That's it. That's all she wrote.